From Nutrien Ag Solutions, I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist Andrew Pritchard with your Morning Minute for Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. Three things to know today. We've got an update on the snow chances from parts of central Illinois into central Indiana, northern and central Ohio Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Isolated strong storms possible in the southeast Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And then an update, a little more on the cold air that's coming into the Cornbelt here, talking about how long it's been since we saw cold of this caliber across the Cornbelt during the month of December. Now, your current hazards map here Tuesday morning. Winter weather advisories across portions of the UP of Michigan and into the Northeast. We've got freeze warnings in the Red River Valley of the South and winter storm warnings across the Rockies into the Sierras, where we've got heavy snow and high winds over the next 24 to 48 hours. Severe weather outlook quiet today. That changes as we get into Wednesday. A small corridor here with a marginal risk from parts of the Mississippi Delta there across Mississippi into central and northern Alabama. We expand that on Thursday, really much of the southeast under that marginal risk. This is not the most, prolific severe weather setup, I guess is a way to put it. We'll look at some of the details here and why I think that, yes, a couple isolated strong storms, but I'm not all that concerned about this one. Let's look at the mid-level water vapor map here. Couple of things to point out. This is the shot of cold air, the first shot of cold air we've seen sweep through the central and eastern Corn Belt here. You know, where I live in Champaign, Illinois, where we work here, the Innovation Farm, I heard those winds ramping up last evening as it got dark, that cold air screaming into the region. Now, here is the next disturbance, really the kind of the leading signs of that, this patch of very strong mid-level jet stream winds that is screaming over the Sierras into the central Rockies. Again, kind of ramping up for that winter storm across that region for the next 24 to 48 hours. But this is what's going to kind of shoot into the central U.S. and wrap up into an area of low pressure across the Hudson Bay over the next 5-6 days that really gets this pattern transition going. So what's kind of cool about this is if I just kind of freeze this here with this, low wrapping up right here across the Great Lakes, the cold front sweeping through, got that departing low over the Atlantic, and then this corridor of very strong jet stream winds coming in on the mid-level vapor imagery here. If I flip it over to a model graphic of the 500 millibar height anomalies, we can really pick out the same features here. So across the Great Lakes, here's our trough that kind of moved through over the last 24 to 48 hours, and then you see the contrast there between the upper level low pressure coming in across northern California and southern Oregon, higher atmospheric pressure across Mexico, and the gradient between those two, those lines tightly packed together, that is very strong jet stream flow. If you flip it over to look at the 300 millibar height and wind speeds here, we're talking about winds coming in here anywhere from 120 to 150 knots in the core of that jet streak, and that's what gets us going here and really is the catalyst to one of these big pattern shifts across North America. So if I animate this, you see these jet stream winds come in. We wrap up this big area of low pressure across the Great Lakes. Here we go into, this is Tuesday night now, getting into Wednesday morning. Here's the area of low pressure, or I should say the wave that is going to instigate the surface low pressure across the panhandles here on Wednesday that kind of loops into the Ohio Valley as we get into Thursday morning. You see another jet streak rotating around here. This is going to kind of help wrap up this area of low pressure, bringing in a reinforcing shot of some cold, dry air to the region. Now, what happens then as we do this, again, I mentioned that area of, really fast jet stream winds. We're going to develop an area of low pressure here across the panhandles. And when we develop that surface area of low pressure, you're going to be able to watch this moisture return across the Gulf of Mexico. So here's the cold front that swept through the Corn Belt yesterday. A lot of cold, dry air filtering into the Corn Belt right now. We start to get that return flow as we get into Wednesday morning. You see the moisture coming in off the Gulf of Mexico, then lifting northward ahead of the area of low pressure that's developing in the panhandles, kind of tracking here near the Red River of the South, and then it lifts into the Ohio Valley as we get into Thursday morning. So this is what drives that wave of rain, perhaps changing over to some light snow across the eastern Corn Belt. This also supplies the moisture for the scattered strong storms across the southeast Wednesday night into the day on Thursday. We then see that cold front come through on Thursday, bringing in another shot of reinforcing cold air and dry air here that's going to kind of just scour that moisture back down across the Gulf of Mexico. And really that is indicative of the pattern we're headed for, at least for the first half of December. It's going to be much colder and drier across the Corn Belt, much of the central and eastern United States. So colder, but are we talking about a lot of snow? Jury still out on that. Let's look at the NAM model. Let's go ahead and take a look at the precipitation over the next 3 days. Again, here's the departing storm system. Snow across portions of Canada right now. Light rain, wintry mix across portions of New England up into the Northeast. That's where we've got those winter weather advisories in effect. Winter storm warnings across the Rockies as the next disturbance begins to make itself known here, ejecting and kind of developing across the southern plains Wednesday morning, and then we see that rain and precipitation begin to lift into the central and eastern Cornbelt, the Ohio Valley, during the day on Wednesday, and then as cold air filters in from the north, that's when we see that precipitation potentially changing over to some snow, again, from central Illinois into central Indiana, northern and central portions of Ohio, and then as this area of low pressure continues on into the northeast, better chance for some accumulating snow in some corridors here across the northeast, especially where we get some help from the lake effect with colder air coming in on the backside here as we head through the weekend. So kind of one dose of snow in the northeast on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, and then we get reinforcing shots, some corridors of lake effect snow as we head into the weekend. So this is kind of the title graphic here, the image that I cooked up for social media, just to kind of tell the story of our midweek storm system. Again, that best chance for accumulating snow, I think, is going to fall from approximately Champaign, Illinois, down to Effingham, and then across Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, up to Cleveland, Pittsburgh. You're probably most likely to see maybe a slushy couple of inches of snow stacking up here Wednesday night, tapering off as we get into Thursday morning, and then the thunderstorm chance is highest across portions of Tennessee, down into the mid-delta region, here, eastern Arkansas, eastern Louisiana, into Mississippi, Alabama, and northern Georgia. We'll kind of break down the snow and the severe weather risks here. Again, just showing you all the different models here. Again, the high resolution rapid refresh, the HRRR in the top left, the NAM on the top right, GFS on the bottom left, and the European on the bottom right. Now, if you remember the forecast yesterday, we talked about, the Europeans kind of jumped around, said, yeah, here's some snow, no, it's not. Here's some snow, no, it's not. The NAM has kind of said, yeah, a couple of inches of snow, and the GFS has been, no, it's not going to snow. Well, now the GFS kind of caving to this light snow idea. So gaining some confidence here, knowing that, it's going to be melting as it snows initially. We've got some warmer grounds here. It's going to be kind of a slushy, rainy snow transition before we get to maybe all snow on Thursday night. So still skeptical on total accumulation here. I think most areas, it's a light coating. It's a cementy light coating, but still not impossible that someone's going to stack up a quick inch or two, maybe more, in a very localized corridor. Now, what also happens here down to the south is as this area of low pressure lifts in, we bring some Gulf moisture northward, we're going to have some instability that could fuel some thunderstorms. Now, there's a couple issues with this. I'll just show you here. This is the, Wednesday morning. The instability, the deeper moisture still offshore across the Gulf of Mexico. That begins to change as we get into Wednesday evening. So this would be sunset Wednesday, getting to around 6 o'clock central. Starting to get this little nose of instability coming into portions of eastern Texas and Louisiana. This kind of lifts a little bit further into the southeastern states as we get into Thursday morning. So this would be Thursday sunrise, getting into midday on Thursday. Again, it's going to be unstable. We'll have some rumbles of thunder. We'll have enough to get some heavy downpours. But when I look at my ingredients here, kind of expanding beyond just the instability, which we've got in the top left there. Over here on the top right, this is your low-level jet, kind of the lower-level winds that are really important to kind of thunderstorm organization and getting rotating updrafts going. And what I see here is as we get into, this would be Thursday morning again, the area of instability is kind of just lifting into parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, southern portions of Alabama, the Florida Panhandle there where you see those green or shaded colors. Now, the upper level low, or I should say the surface low, and then the kind of the stronger low level jet is all the way up in Ohio at this point, near the Ohio River Valley, getting into the mid-Atlantic. The strongest mid-level jet streak winds are going to be across portions of the mid-south, the Ohio River Valley, Kentucky, and Tennessee, seeing those upper-level winds screaming in. And so what I'm getting at here is the ingredients are displaced. We've got the strongest instability well south. We've got the strongest wind shear well to the north. The result is kind of just a disjointed setup where, we've got some flow, we got some juice. There's going to be some scattered storms, likely a broken line of thunderstorms along this cold front from the Ohio River Valley, parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, down into northern Alabama, Mississippi, down possibly into southern portions of Louisiana. A couple of these storms could be strong, producing some hail, maybe some gusty winds, maybe an isolated tornado or two. Not the most prolific severe weather setup that I've ever seen, but certainly something we want to talk about. just kind of time this out here with the NAM model. Again, quiet for your Tuesday, quiet for much of your Wednesday in this area as well. It's not until we get to late Wednesday night that I think that we'll start to see those thunderstorms beginning to erupt across the southern U.S., the southern Delta, lifting north and east through the day on Thursday. Couple of these storms could be problematic, not expecting a widespread severe weather outbreak. Now, your next 5 days, total precipitation, again, a lot of heavy snow in the Rockies. That's good news. The Sierra is seeing some heavy snow as well. Total precipitation from the showers and storms across the southeast U.S., not a soaker. We're talking about scattered amounts here, a few tenths up to a half an inch, maybe someone picking up an inch here in isolated fashion from one of these heavier thunderstorms. And then total liquid precipitation across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, where we get that rain-snow mix. Again, a few tenths, maybe up to a half an inch in some of these areas here. Not a soaker, but certainly, again, we continue to pile on some of this beneficial moisture as we head into what could be at least a temporary deep freeze across the Corn Belt. We're looking at the pattern here, and this is what I was thinking about yesterday evening. I was watching the Illinois basketball game. I was firing out some social media posts on the incoming cold, and I started thinking, I'm like, we've not seen a pattern like this across North America in the month of December for a long time. And just anecdotally, I can say, yeah, December has felt like a quiet, mild month in the Midwest the last few years. But what does that really mean? So I went looking. This is the forecast here as we head into December, the height pattern on the left, and then kind of the flow pattern that corresponds with that over on the right. And I did some digging, and what I found was it was December 2017. That was the last time we saw this highly amplified pattern that features a ridge in the west and a trough in the east. Again, the forecast on the left, December 2017 on the right. Let's take a look at the wind flow patterns. We see this jet streak across the central and western Pacific that kind of it pulls back, and we get this ridge across the eastern Pacific, the western U.S. border there with the Pacific. And so this ridge of high pressure, this deep trough across the Great Lakes, we get fast jet stream winds coming around the base of that. And that is just kind of this northwest flow coming out of the Canadian prairies where we've just dumped a bunch of snow. We've got a lot of cold air up there. It's going to be kind of just the expressway to delivering that into the Corn Belt as we go into the month of December. So I started thinking then, what did December 2017 look like? And that's what we got right here. Temperatures on the left, precipitation on the right. With that ridge across the west, we saw near record warmth at times across portions of the Southwest. California, the Four Corners region, very mild and dry pattern. But then cold east of the Rockies, just about everyone with a colder pattern, especially across the Great Lakes into the Northeast. But does colder mean it's going to be snowy? Not necessarily. Again, with northwest flow coming out of the prairies, that is a pattern that gives us shots of cold Arctic air. It is dry air. It is not really supportive of heavy snow. So what I'm trying to say across the Corn Belt is, my hot take would revolve around maybe looking at the coldest Corn Belt December since 2017, maybe looking at some record warmth at times across the Southwest, reflective of December 2017, but still kind of, a lot of questions to be answered as far as how much precipitation are we actually going to be able to work in here? Do we actually see a winter storm or two across the Corn Belt to give us the white, Christmas that everyone is going to be wanting here as we talk about a cold December? I know that that's the first step to getting in that snowy holiday season, but, we'll have to kind of look for the actual storm system that's going to deliver that, because right now, this pattern looks cold, then it looks dry across the central United States. So here's 2017. This is the current forecast from the extended European model. Again, cold east of the Rockies, maybe a chance for some moderation as we get to mid to late month across the high plains, but right now the signal is cold across much of the Corn Belt, and the signal is also dry across much of the Corn Belt, with much of that flow coming up over the top of the ridge. It's going to be snowy across British Columbia, maybe the chance for some snow across the Canadian Prairie into the northern high plains at times. Also, watch out for the chance for some showers and storms across the Gulf of Mexico at times, but we really lack that subtropical jet. So again, not a really strong evidence that we'll be looking at routine severe weather events or anything significant across the Gulf of Mexico. We'll just kind of have to watch those shower and storm chances as we head through the month. As always, you can get daily weather details and field level insights in the Nutrien Ag Solutions Weather Safety app and at nutrienagsolutions.com.